Welcome, everybody, to the Hot Route Friday, Black Friday, November 26th. Some may call it Hangover Friday, depends on how your Thursday went with Thanksgiving. Hopefully, everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Everybody's safe today. If you're out shopping, God bless you. I don't do that for Black Friday, especially in today's world. You can do so much of it online. I don't really get into the whole crazy outdoor shopping. But we are a little bit later than usual this week just because of how Thanksgiving ran. This is going to be a hybrid a little bit. We'll do a little bit of a coin flip style at the end of the pod once we go by game. Then all the content will be out per usual over the weekend. Waiting on a lot of injury news this week. This time of the year, that's pretty common. I will go through that in just a second. But first, joining me as always, Mr. Ryan. How you doing on this Friday around noonish?
Good. It is Hangover Friday for me, and my wife's out shopping. So, I'm just going to enjoy the day, relax, meeting back up with family again tonight, kind of for round two. So, resting up while I can, and then we're back at it. How you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, I don't know if this is normal or I don't remember. I remember there being a few Friday games, college games back. Like you had your traditional, but way back in the day, A&M, Texas, Nebraska, Colorado, Bedlam sometimes was right on there. I don't remember having just nonstop college football all day, so I'm happy for that. We got a 13-game slate that went off this morning. Some mini slates throughout the day, all the way to tonight. So for us college football, they can do it. I know you cannot play college football where you're at. It's another good day running off yesterday. Obviously ran a little hot last night. Hit the Dallas Raiders showdown for a little over $32,000 in all between two contests. Chopped first in two contests. The big one that was $200K up top was obviously the big hit. Unfortunately, once it got to overtime, I'd kind of pretty much done as much math as I could, and the optimal way for me to get there, I kind of needed the Raiders to win. And then also, as you're well aware, big survivor we're in, 15 people had the Cowboys. And so I was kind of like stuck between a rock and I was like, man, I don't want Dallas to lose, but this could help me in multiple facets between knocking another 15 out. So we're like down to 30 something. And that's a massive amount of people that are in that pool and pot. So, going to be a tough selection for me Sunday, though. I'll get to that in a second. But obviously running a little hot, so I'm ready. I'm ready to fire back today. We got a good UFC tomorrow, another big Saturday college football, and then this 10-game slate on Sunday should be a good one. Right now, all the way till Tuesday, so through Cyber Monday, use the code TURKEY, get 30% off any package. If you are a current member, hit me up in the GC Warrior Room or Twitter, and we can upgrade you as well if you want to do the full package. I put a promo video out. It's about 18, 19 minutes, highlighting everything in the site. It's well worth your time if you want to go check it out. It should be pinned on the Gup's Corner profile. It includes a 7-day free trial, so join now. You'll get all the way through, this time next week for free. If you don't like it, you can cancel. You'll never get charged. I think you will. Community's been hopping. Daily NBA. Right now, we've had college football or NFL all week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Maybe Wednesday, I don't think we had either. And outside of that, then we'll have it all weekend. Then another Monday, then we'll probably have, obviously, championship weekend next weekend to decide who's going to go to the playoffs, and then we'll have all the bowls covered, and we are getting closer and closer to the most important time in NFL. Certainly have all that covered for you as well. Rate and review us on iTunes. It goes a long way. I'll be doing some big giveaways as we get through the playoffs, and then when we get to our March to the Masters, our big promotional item of the year. That is something we take highly into consideration when we're picking winners. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and tell me your favorite black item Friday that you've either seen or bought. That'll get you into our weekly drawings that I'll do next week on the coin flip. Right now on Underdog, click the link in the description. You can get a free $100 match up to $100. Deposit whatever you want, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. You get that free dollar for dollar match. They have daily pick'ems up, parlays. You can mix and match sports. So tomorrow you could do UFC, or today UFC, college football, NFL, basketball. I like that about them. You can get up to 20 times your money on their parlays. The more you put in the parlay, the more you win, obviously. If you don't have a legalized sports book, it's a good way to get into the action over there and build up some bankroll for the best balls that'll be rolling out next May. Hopefully you're sweating some best balls right now. I got about 40% of mine that are either first, second, or third. Obviously, a lot will be decided here in the upcoming weeks. This week, though, we got a 10-game slate. Obviously, Dallas, Falcons, Lions, Bears, Bills, and Saints all played yesterday in what was one of the weirdest Thanksgiving slates I think I can remember, from injuries before the games. Unfortunately, we got pretty much all the Kamara, Ingram, Lamb, and plenty of time, but shuffling that stuff around. So many cheap pieces last night. If you did Showdown to try to figure out how to do that, the chalk was going to be Allen and Diggs. They ended up in the optimal as most projected. It was just a weird Thursday slate. And then key injuries throughout. I mean, Swift, I was high on. I was lower on Montgomery. And then Waller gets hurt as well. So just a weird slate, but obviously turned out positive for me, so I'll take it. Seattle, Washington, Browns, and Ravens are the Sunday night football game. The Chiefs and Cardinals are on a bye week. The Pats are -6.5. Then every single game left, the highest spread is 3.5. That is not something we've seen this year. We've had a lot of big spreads, big blowouts, big money spots to go to, very close competitive games. Weather can be an issue at this time of year. We've seen it. We see it now on college football. Looks like them boys are freezing their balls off on the big kickoff over there in Ann Arbor. We're cold here. We're chilly here in Oklahoma, but nothing like probably up there in the north. Before I get to the injuries and we go game by game, any thoughts on all that, on the overall slate from you? And how's your weather up there?
Yeah, as you say, it's like freezing rain outside right now. So It's still like 30, 40 degrees, but it's just the weather's just absolute shit.
Yeah.
I pulled up the weather for this weekend for the games. It doesn't look like we're running into anything. Like a couple East Coast games, New England, it'll just be cold there, but there's no weather concerns, I don't think. So we should be fine. And then a couple of the big games will be in a dome, like Tampa Bay, Indy, and we'll get into all that. But yeah. I got no real thoughts right now. Just want to kind of break this down, and I want to get your thoughts on a couple of these games that I think can kind of explode, and see if you're there too. So,
yeah, we got key injuries I have written down. Aaron Rodgers, I think he'll play. Obviously, the toe situation. Cordell Patterson looking more and more likely to play. Barkley, I think, will be closer to a game time decision. James Robinson, I think, probably plays. Damian Harris could play, but that whole running back situation there is interesting in itself. Ramondre's kind of banged up a little bit. It's always tough to pick a Bills. It is tough to pick a Bills running back. It's tough to pick a Patriots running back as well. Jones is trending upwards. Aaron Jones, that is, looks like, I didn't think there was any chance he was even going to have a chance. Now it looks like he possibly will. I did include him in my projections. The question will be is how good A.J. Dillon's been playing. Has it turned into a 1-2 punch now? Don't know that. Eli Mitchell, questionable. McNichols is questionable. Foreman's questionable. Evans is questionable. I think he plays. A.J. Brown, questionable. I think he plays. AB's already been ruled out for the Bucs again. Tony and Shepard, both questionable. Looks like Tony's probably out, and Shepard just can't stay healthy, so the Giants is looking a little banged up. Corey Davis, questionable, and then Hunter Henry, questionable, but I think Henry probably plays. So keep all that in mind as we go through it. It's going to be a Sunday where you got to be around because there's several things that could break open and add value or open up the slate a little bit. We'll kick it off with the Jets at Texans. 23.5 for the Texans, 21 at the Jets. What's your initial thoughts on this? What originally you probably would have thought would have been a big red X, to quote our boy Bobby Berger, but I think we could see some scoring, especially on the Houston side.
Yeah, there's a couple plays here. Tyrod being, I think, the most obvious one. 5,300 just too cheap, so he's definitely in cash consideration this week. And then I always like to look at your ranks too. And, I think cash is probably between him and Cam Newton. And right now I'm undecided on it. I do see you got Tyrod just barely above him there. So I do like Tyrod here. The Jets they just give up points. I mean, they're terrible. saying that is nothing new. David Johnson's 4,500. He's another one that I think is kind of sneaky. They just dumped Philip Lindsay. So it's not like these running backs have been killing it, but now it's pretty much just Johnson and Burkhead there. So a 3-man rotation goes down to a 2-man rotation, and David Johnson's the one that they prefer in the pass game as well. And then speaking of that, on the other side of the ball, so the Texans, they're also terrible. So this is just a crazy matchup here. This is one of the games I was going to ask you, like, do you think that these teams can actually score on each other because the Ds are so bad? So if they can, I like Ty Johnson on the other side too at 4,300.
Yeah, I can see they were close to my sneaky stack, sleeper stack pick for the week. I actually had it down to between them and another team. As far as the Texans go, Houston's at home, got a little bit of momentum. I think they can. I mean, you have, Bucks, Colts, as far as ownership wise, clearly the highest own, but we have 4 games over 100% total ownership, fairly split out. So as far as finding different pieces, I don't think we necessarily have to do that, but I don't mind I don't know about the running back deal with Houston or the Jets for that matter, but I don't mind like Tyrod Cooks. And I kind of like Elijah Moore either as a one-off or a running back if you're doing kind of a mini deal. Tyrod just seems cheap at 53. I mean, he can make some things go. He obviously has the leg power, and he's looked good here in that, as he's got back into football shape and stuff. And you can't ask for a better matchup. I know why the spread's low. I mean, the over/under's low, but just by the teams. But again, once you get in that environment of two kind of mediocre to low end teams, you could wake up and all of a sudden have because every team total outside of the Tampa Bay is 47 or less, besides Minnesota and San Francisco. But relatively, all these games aren't hugely apart, and right. Just people looking at this one, they're not really going to go looking at it. Definitely MME viable as far as a little stack, but I don't mind little mini stacks out of here that are cheap, and then you get to go pay up where you want to pay up elsewhere.
I think Corey Davis, too, is 4,800 is interesting. So I like Elijah Moore, like you said. It seems like he's kind of cementing his role there, running the most routes now. But him and Davis has been, the man there since he came to the team. I don't think that's going to change. So I think you're starting to see,
question mark, so that was the only – as long as he plays, yeah, I like Davis too.
Yeah. So, again, it's sneaky here. And like you said, you can do little mini stacks or just one-offs, and these guys can score in this atmosphere.
Did I say? I think I saw Zach Wilson is going to start again, right?
Yeah, I think so. So I didn't want to go to him. He was cheap too, but I'll stick with Tyrod on that side of the ball.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Certainly better spots on the slate, but it's not one that I'll just normally 3 weeks ago we probably would have X'd it out. I certainly don't mind looking at it. Bucks at Colts, big game on the slate, 28-25. Indianapolis at home, 3-point dogs. This is going to be a game similar to last week. We saw Chiefs, Cowboys, highest own. People are going to try to get in there, especially Brady. Colts' weakness probably is in their secondary, and Brady can exploit that. They actually have a good run D. And Bucks, it looks like Vita Vea is going to be back. So will be interesting to see what people do with Taylor now that he's 9,100. Like last week, though, I mean, he's going to be low owned. He's priced above McCaffrey now. It's a good MME spot, just like we did last week, and it obviously paid off for us a little bit. But he's starting to get up there where, and especially if Vita Vea is back, a tough run D. The nice thing is that he is securing more and more the third down back roll. And so he still could get there out of the backfield. They're not going to run through the middle of that D, but he still could be viable. I just don't know. He's going to be low owned because people are just not going to go to him when they can pay $100 less for McCaffrey. So super large MME stuff, I think you can plug him as a run back if you go like Brady, Godwin. Pittman is still too cheap in my opinion. The Colts should be able to throw the ball if they get time on this Tampa D. They're going to funnel to the pass anyways. I like this game, but I can certainly see myself being light on it and going some other places and just hoping this turns into a weird, Bucks on the road game.
Yeah, it's these two teams are very similar because, like you said, they both have good run Ds and they give it up through the air. So the problem for the Colts really would be Carson Wentz. He has some games where he just can't get it going at all. So that's like you said, staying away from them. If Wentz has one of his, stinkers, then this is not looking good. I think there'll still be enough volume there for Pittman to pay off. He's only 5,600, so if he was up in the mid sixes or something, I might shy away. But I think even at 5,600, you could play him in cash this week and feel comfortable about it. And then Godwin's one of my favorite plays on the slate with AB out again, and Evans is now questionable. I think Evans will probably tough it out and play, but Godwin's just locked into such a huge role right now. I thought he'd be, $500-$600 more, maybe even up to 8,000, but he's still just stuck right at 7. I think that's more than fair for a Colts team that gives it up through the air. And then I saw your ranks too. You had Brady number 1. He's probably my favorite quarterback on the slate. Because if this game goes bad, excuse me, I think the Colts are the bad side of it, where Wentz has a stinker, and the Bucs can put up a bunch of points.
Yeah, I think if you're fading, you're hoping that the Colts you're hoping one side, it's most likely going to be the Colts, like you said, isn't competitive, and it's not turns into this big back and forth game. I don't think Tampa Bay looked that great. The Giants were just god awful, and Jason Garrett's maybe the worst coordinator I've ever seen in my life. He was a horrible coach, but also should have been out many weeks ago. Now he's gone. We'll see if that helps the Giants, but they didn't have to do much in that game. And you're right. I do like Godwin, especially if, I don't care if Evans is there or not. Do you think, probably the one thing I know you got as a tournament play, Gronk got in there a little bit. He was still easing back into it. Could see a big game out of him. I don't mind him at 4,400. Probably will be higher owned at that price. He should see some more reps this week. Where are you at on Gronk?
I think because of where he's priced, he might not be that high owned. Just because ones that I would project to be real chalky would be like Freiermuth, who's $100 less because now Ebron's out. And he's been in a good role all year. Then you got Higbee in a shootout right underneath it. Noah Fant, people love to play right above that. Same with Dallas Goedert. So I think because they're all there, it's obviously a fair price for someone who can put up a touchdown or two in a game. But I do like it. And if Evans is hobbled, a $4,400 Gronk with his boy Brady throwing the ball is nice here.
No, I do, and I think the Colts have good linebackers. They're more run present, but I think Gronk can get a touchdown. We know Brady looks his way. If Evans is out, that would obviously, like you said, boost Gronk in that red zone to me. So that's one I got my eye on. It'll probably be the most popular team stack. So if you go there, just like last week, make sure you're different in places. Especially in those big, large fields. But plenty of options here to go to. And I don't hate Wentz if you think he can. If you do think it's going to be they can hang in because of his price. He could pay off. I think there's some better options that are like you said, Tyrod, maybe even Cam. They're both cheaper. But I don't mind having one off. Pittman or Taylor in MMEs or mini stack those two. If you go some kind of Brady stack and run it back with Taylor, I think you're going to be unique because most people they're going to have to go so cheap elsewhere if they do that stack. They're not going to go Taylor. They'll just go probably Pittman if they're going to look for a run back on the Colts side. But if you go like Brady, Godwin, Gronk, and run it back with Taylor, it's not too expensive, and you can still build around that. Next game, Eagles 24.5 at Giants 21. Eagles 3.5 point favorites on the road. Hurts is one of my favorite plays on the slate. I am interested to see what kind of uptick or spunk we see from the Giants. The only problem is we don't know who's going to be playing for them. Barkley, Tony, Shepard, all banged up. That's one we're going to have to watch. I like Hurts, Goddard, Smith as a mini stack. Would love to run it back with like a Tony or something. I just don't know if they're going to play. But where you at? And you can play Hurts naked any week, so I don't mind that either. And his price being kind of up there may shy some people away. So I don't mind going to him this week at all.
Yeah, with the two value quarterbacks that can also run a bit, Not a lot of people, I don't think, will pay up for 7,300 hertz. This is another game that I kind of like. With Garrett gone now for the Giants, maybe they, can actually move the ball for once. We just need, like you said, it's hard to talk about it because we don't know if Barkley's going to play or if he'll be limited. The receivers, I do think Tony's going to be out now, so I got to update that in the article, like you said. So, and then we got to get news on Shepard. Ingram was questionable, I saw. So just a tough one to break down on that side of the ball. One of my favorite plays on this entire slate here too is Miles Sanders for 5,100. As Jordan Howard's out, all this team does is run now. And Sanders got kind of screwed last week. Hurts running 3 touchdowns in. That's, obviously that's always a threat, but that's not going to happen every week. I think Sanders' time is coming. This offense is finally what he needed it to be, where he's going to get the ball, 20 times on the ground and make plays happen. And he can definitely do that against the Giants. The $5,100 price to me is just absurd.
No, I agree. I think he's a potential good, especially if you're trying to stack something in there. He can be a one-off, but, I'm probably going to have pretty decent amount of Hurts this week, so I don't mind having him as well. And, Smith's price is up, which is probably going to keep some ownership down, but he can still get peppered against this. Secondary on Giants is better than what some think. We saw they can't get pressure to save their life, but Smith can get a lot of short routes, a lot of PPR, great DraftKings wide receiver at times. So I don't mind him either. Biggest deal on this game, we just got to see how all the injuries shake out and obviously update that Sunday. Panthers at Dolphins, 22-20. Panthers slight road favorites. I'm indifferent on this game. It's not one that I have highly circled to try to get pieces of. I get the Cam. So you think, do we get a better Cam this week or where are we at there off the loss last week? Tough loss. He didn't play horribly, but some upside, but McCaffrey's our key piece still. Other side, I agree. I don't mind like Waddle, Gesicki. And this game could be an ugly game. I could see it. Panthers D's better than what people expect. I think you talked about that last week. Where are you at here?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Like on paper, I think, and it, obviously has the lowest total too, but nothing really shines here, like except for McCaffrey's usage and Cam Newton's usage if they get down in the red zone. So I don't know. I mean, I think that they do take away from each other a little bit. I mean, we saw it last week. He threw a touchdown pass to McCaffrey. Now that was nice, but you can't count on that every single time. Without that touchdown, McCaffrey's day was good, but not great. Definitely not what you want to pay $9,000 for. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard with, like you said, with Taylor for $100 more. It's a tough matchup for him too, but he still sees the pass work, like you said, on third downs. And I just think they can put up more points than the Panthers here. So I'm a little indifferent on this. Newton and Tyrod were the two I was looking at for cash QBs. If Newton's just going to be, 80% owned in cash games, then I'd probably roll with that. But I kind of like Tyrod a little more right now against the Jets. So I don't know.
Yeah,
pretty much a dud here.
Yeah, I'm right now. I would take Tyrod over Cam in that atmosphere for the reasons you stated. I mean, Cam could have 3 touchdowns easily and smash or none, and McCaffrey gets them all. It's a low scoring environment already, so tough for me to get involved there. McCaffrey's going to be probably somewhat popular this week, but like you said, I don't want to say he hadn't looked like the same McCaffrey because he has, but that with Cam there, it just hurts his overall upside to me. And the Dolphins are horrible. You got one of the lowest totals on the entire slate. So I just find better spots to get in and maybe one off here. I don't mind like Waddle because I think he gets a lot of stuff. And like you said, Gesicki at times, but there's other tight ends that I like, as good or better there as well. So it's one that's kind of way down on my radar. The next one's pretty as well. Titans 18.75. I didn't think we'd see that this year. At the Patriots 25.5. Patriots biggest favorite on the board. Lots of injuries again for Tennessee to look at. Running backs are beat up. AJ's beat up. Julio's already out. Patriots are tough to play anybody because especially if Harris is wind up active, that makes that running back situation even worse. I'm always a Myers fan. I always play him in MMEs mostly as a one-off. don't mind Stevenson if Harrison's out. We just got to see that. Anything there for you? I know that you don't have any cash love here.
I feel the same way. I mean, you got to wait for the news of the Patriots backfield. If only one of them is active, I like it, even if it's Harris at 6,100. But I think Stevenson practiced in full, I think, on Wednesday, so he's going to go. So if Harris is out, Stevenson for 5,200, I really like him here. He'd be probably in my cash lineup as well if Harris is out. And Hilliard would be my preferred back on the Titans. Nothing special there, though. Not a good matchup, but he's the one that's going to be catching the passes. So you can't expect what happened last week, like 52 throws from Tannehill's not probably ever going to happen again. But for 4,600, you could do a lot worse trying to punt something off in a tournament if you needed some salary savings. And then Myers, like you said, he sees the targets, but how much are they really going to throw here?
Yeah, I like Myers. I always, if I do, 50, 75 lineup type deal on Sunday, he's in my pool. And like I said, if we get an isolated running back, I love either one. I'd play either one of them if they're the only ones. Like I do think Stevenson's going to play. It's just a matter of does Harris suit up or not. So that's another one we'll be waiting on. Big rivalry next. Steelers at Bengals, 4-point dogs, 24.25 to 20.25. Big Ben had his best showing from a passing standpoint. Do we think that keeps going? I like the Bengals. Steelers D is still good. Mixon's one that I have my eye on. I could get some pieces here. Neither one of these are ones I kind of look at stacking. But I don't mind Harris. He looks like at that price will probably go overlooked. Mixon never gets enough love. Chase and Higgins, don't mind either one. And on Pittsburgh side, obviously we always say Deontay's in play. And Fairmont's getting more and more involved in this offense. Just a matter of, is this turning into an old, AFC Central 17-13 type game? There's several of these games are in that, like we said earlier, tight games, low scoring. So it may not be a week that a whole bunch of correlation has to happen. You just build who's the best plays and not have to do a bunch of stacking. But I like pieces in this game. I just don't want to get too overexposed to it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way about the running backs too, like you said, because I like them both. And, we have concerns with a McCaffrey and a Taylor in their matchups this week. So not as much the matchup with McCaffrey, but the Newton thing. This here, I mean, these two guys are the man on the offense, and 8,200 and 7,500 is more than fair for the volume that they're projected to see. So I like them both too, and I think they will be low owned. And then Deontay is just a beast. Another 13 targets or whatever he had. I mean, he just every single week he just remains 6,600. That to me, that's too cheap. You can play him in cash, you can play him in tournaments, and just feel good about it. And then Freiermuth too. Ebron hit the IR, I think, or he's just out injured. So I think he's on the IR. So this is just his job now. He's done really well, with the lead role, and Big Ben loves his tight end. So I would fire him up in cash too if I'm going to pay up for a tight end this week in the 4,000 range.
Yeah. Do you think Big Ben could have that type of upside again? Or, I mean, he's one of my lowest ranked quarterbacks. He's only 5,200, but I just don't see it. Him being, I think if they can run and establish that's just what they're going to do. Rely on their defense, run the ball. He'll throw to Johnson when he needs to. Like you said, he loves a tight end. I just don't think the volume is going to be enough there for him. And frankly, even Burrow, I think it's a similar situation.
Yeah, like I left both quarterbacks off here. I just felt like at the price, if Freiermuth's going to go 4 for 50 and maybe get some end zone looks, that to me that's as much upside at tight end as most, in that price range.
Yep.
So I don't feel bad throwing him out there for that price. And then Deontay too, like even when Big Ben doesn't have big games, the target tree is just so narrow there. He's still throwing to him 12, 13 times a game, and he's getting 9 catches for 70 yards. So that seems to be like his floor. And then when he hits a, touchdown, then he's up in the 20s, and that's basically his ceiling, or has been. So I don't know. Even when Ben's not good, Deontay still finds a way to eat.
Yeah. And you can, Fireman's going to be a good $100 or less pivot off of Gronk, in my opinion. will probably be much less owned. So if you wanted to go there as your one-off there, I certainly don't mind that. Next game is an interesting one for me. Falcons at Jags, 24-22. Falcons 2-point road favorites. That probably tells you how bad the Jags are. I actually like the Falcons. They were the other team with the Texans as my sleeper stack. I'm choosing between. Matt Ryan's cheap. He could have a good day. I want Cordell Patterson to be back because I think he opens up that offense more for them to be able to get Pitts involved and obviously himself can get involved in the passing game. And I don't mind running back with either Chenault or Robinson, assuming Robinson's healthy. It looks like he'll play, but he is on the report. You go Ryan, Patterson, Pitts, running back with one of those two. Very cheap little game stack. And you can build from there wherever you want. Now you can go get a Jonathan Taylor, expensive, low owned in your pool, or pay up for some of these good wide receivers in spots. Where are you at here?
Yeah, I did that matchup sheet that I did. I do like a pass advantage plus a projected pass percentage. Like basically just think if a team can't move the ball on the ground or they're going to be forced to throw more, things like that. And obviously the Falcons can't run for shit. So I had Tom Brady ranked 1 and Matt Ryan ranked 2. So yeah, I'm with you there. I like him this week. And then I think all the prices are pretty cheap too. He's down to 5,500. Yep. Patterson 65, Pitts 61, and then on the other side, obviously all those guys are cheap too. So yeah, this is one of the games I like to stack as well. And Chenault too. So one thing that's interesting, they just got ran all over by Debo. And now Urban Meyer was saying he wants to start using Chenault in a role like that. So I don't know if they'll do it this week, but, at least he's going to try to get him the ball more. So for 4,400, Chenault, I think he's got some upside.
Yeah, the only thing pause for me is does Patterson play or not? Because I think it changes the upside of this team as far as a team stack. I still don't mind the pieces, but if he's out, I don't like it as much. If he's in, I think they could have a good day and possibly a fairly under the radar high scoring game as well. Chargers at Broncos 25.25, Broncos 22.75. Chargers slight favorites on the road, coming off a big win last week. Division rivals, big game in that division. Broncos have lost 3 straight, I think. They need to win bad. Herbert remains to look good. I think he's my number 2 ranked overall quarterback on the week right now. I like a lot here. Javonte Williams is the guy I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. I don't mind Herbert. I don't mind Allen. Eckler's not a guy I get to a lot, but I don't mind him and don't mind any of the one-off pieces. I don't know if I go full stack. I was close. They're close on my radar. The Chargers are at least. I guess my fear is wondering how competitive this game is, or what Broncos do we see. But outside of that, I think Chargers are going to put up points, so I definitely don't mind getting some pieces there.
Yeah, I like this game too. I like Keenan Allen he's now 4 games into double-digit targets every single game, so he's kind of clearly taken over the number 1 role here. 7,400 is fair considering I think Adams up to like 86 and Kupp's up over 9,000 now. So anyone that can see, 12, 13 targets in a game for less than 8,000 is looking pretty good, especially when Herbert's throwing you the ball. And then the rest of it, like Eckler is just so up or down. I mean, for 8,400 too, I think he's barely going to be owned. Maybe his big TD performance last week pumps it up a little bit, but I don't know. Like I think most people, like the guys we just talked about, would rather go down to Najee or down to Mixon, something like that. So Eckler will barely be owned. I think you have to. I mean, obviously with his performance last week proved it, but you have to have him in like MME builds and stuff at a decent percentage, just because the upside's so huge. And then I like Javonte over Gordon as well. I think we've both been on that pretty much all season. One of these games, I think he's just gonna, get twice as many carries as Gordon. They're just gonna say, screw it, time to move. He just looks so much better and is so much better. So while he's still cheap like this, I think we got to play him and hope that's the game. It kind of switches the tide here.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with all that. I think he has a big game eventually. Maybe as we get further into the season, that they start letting him run a lot more than Gordon. I mean, it seems like he takes him down the field a lot, and Gordon gets a touchdown and stays in the game. it's frustrating to watch, but
Yeah.
is what it is. Two more games left. Rams at Packers, 24.25 at Packers, 22.75. Rams slight favorites on the road. I don't think Rodgers is going to have any issue. It's just a matter of playing through the pain type of deal. Tough loss for them last week. Hey, you don't want them to lose at home again to the Rams. Rams are a tough team to figure out this year. This game could go a lot of different ways, I think. Like you said, I don't think we have any weather concern. I mean, Green Bay's obviously one we check once we get to this point in time in the year. I think it's going to be cold. It's going to snow potentially tomorrow, but it'll be cold Sunday, but no precipitation. I just kind of factor that in for an LA team, a little bit. A lot of those guys aren't going to really like being freezing cold, not used to it potentially. Waiting on the news on Aaron Jones, I think that's the biggest deal. If he plays, both aren't really that expensive, but I don't know if this is turning more and more into a 1-2 show. MVS is going to get a lot of steam, especially after last week. Big catch, touchdown. I like Adams any week. He can go off. I'm not really scared about this D like some would be. I do have worries about them running against him at any time, but I think it could be more if the Packers are competitive and potentially win. I think it's a big Jones game, throwing the ball, and then Cooper Kupp, the price. My goodness, what are we doing with him?
Yeah, that's tough. 9,600 is a lot. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like Henderson the most here for 5,800. I just think, a couple dud weeks, so it keeps his price way down like this. But when the Rams roll, he's a big part of it. So I think he could have a big game here, and that price doesn't really make sense. And then we got to wait and see on Jones. If he plays and they have the two backs out there, for whatever reason, I kind of like Scantling more when one running back is out. It just seems like he's involved more. Like they're looking for another playmaker, whereas Jones and Dillon, when they're out there, I think it kind of sucks up some MVS targets because he had 10 targets last week too. He caught the long one, but he was involved heavily.
Sure.
And I remember back in training camp too, like they were saying how good he looked. So, if you look at the box score, he's had a couple rough games this year, but that's just, Rodgers has missed him a few times. Like he should have had a couple much bigger games. And so I don't think this price of 4,100 really tells the whole tale. So that's a price I really like here. And if Jones is out, Dillon, 5,900, he'd be locked into my cash lineup for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I do think MVS is coming back. He's healthy now, looks like it. The clear number 2, in my opinion, over Lazard and Cobb. So, and the price is cheap, and they're going to have to throw the ball around. So I agree with all that. I don't mind. Rodgers 6,900 can be a good sneaky play this week, especially tournaments. Because they could have a big game very easily, and this could be a back and forth type deal. Rams, traveling over to the cold East Coast. I don't know. Both these teams need this win, so it's going to be a fun game to watch, no doubt. It's a late game, I believe. So, one that a lot of people, in general, late games seem to be lower owned unless it's just a smash spot, which sometimes that didn't work out. Look at the Cowboys-Chiefs last week. Last game, one I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on. Vikings at 49ers, 22.75, 26.25. 49ers kind of rolling. We know the Kirk Cousins deal, West Coast, 3:00 start, isn't ideal for him in most cases. Big win, potential letdown spot coming off the big win versus Green Bay. Where are you at here? I really like 49ers. They're on my short list for potential survivor play in a very tough situation or tough deal in general. But Jimmy G's looking good. They're getting Debo involved. Ayuk's coming around. Kittle's healthy. Jefferson's a stud. We know that. And the secondary can be had. That's probably my only concern as far as survivor goes. But certainly could be one of the highest scoring games of the day. And I think I want a bunch of pieces here. So where are you at?
Yeah, I like this game. Kind of like what you said with the last game. Now we're getting into crunch time, so this is a must-win for both teams. They're both 5-5. This is the game for to get that last wild card spot. heading into the last part of the season here. I do like Cousins against the secondary. Jefferson and Thielen, I think, are mismatches, for our secondary everywhere. But the Niners are rolling right now. I mean, they're fully healthy. They're doing what they set out to do, to start the year, is run the ball and control the clock. And that's what they've done, the last 2 weeks, and it's what they'll look to do here. Mitchell is questionable, but he's practicing a little bit. If he's out, then I love Wilson. He's only $100 less, so it's an easy swap to make there. Although I don't know if I'd like. This is like more of a game theory thing because the Packer running backs, you don't know about Jones and Dillon. They're like low sixes and 5,900, and then you got these two backs, 5,400 and 5,300. If Mitchell plays, I think that Wilson will kind of split carries with him. So I don't really like Mitchell, but I love Wilson if he doesn't. The same thing with the Packer guys, but I'll have to try to come up with something and I'll put it in Slack as far as like a late swap option that we'll have if we don't get the, Jones news till late, because it's a late game. And if we don't get the Mitchell's news till late as well. But yeah, everyone healthy here in games that you need to win. I like Kittle here. I think he's a big mismatch for the Vikings. And Debo has just been in this role now where I think he caught one pass last week, but he ran for another touchdown. He's playing running back. So who knows what they're going to do with him. 7,900 is kind of a lot. I really like Kittle for 6,400 though.
Yeah, and I mentioned last week and was right that as Kittle gets healthy and they got Debo where the defense has to keep, two guys eyes on him. I said Ayuk's going to come around and have more openings, and last week he gets 7 for 85 and a touchdown. So I certainly don't mind him. I like all of them. I can even get myself into a $5,700 Jimmy G. I got him at 2% owned right now. Certainly a guy, upside isn't super high, but he could get there and have a great game. We know they like to run the ball and keep that focus, so that's why the ownership's low. He just doesn't have that super high ceiling, but he can also run a little bit. So, I probably like him more if like Mitchell's out because it focuses, where they got less options to go to. But I could play a Jimmy G this week. Not high on my list, but certainly at 2%, he'd be worth some shares in MME for sure.
Yeah, I've been talking about this Viking secondary for a couple weeks now. They just get roasted. That was MVS last week. Week before, I think, was a Baltimore game. But either way, I mean, they're slow and they're not any good. So, I mean, it's a great matchup for Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, everyone. That's the nice thing about the Niners is that you're really only looking at those three guys. There's no one else really involved. So you can kind of narrow it right down and stack with Jimmy and feel decent about it.
Absolutely. With no coin flip this week, we're going to do a little, our favorite quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end defense, 2 stacks, 3 flyers, and then a sleeper stack. Then my monkey knife fight plays for the weekend, and then we will wrap this up and get out of here. My favorite quarterback on the slate, mentioned earlier, is Hurts. I was probably between Hurts and Matt Ryan, but not knowing for sure on Patterson. I think my go-to play, and this is MME purposes, not cash, all these picks, would be Hurts for me at 7,300, significantly less owned than Brady. Can't hate anybody for playing Brady, but I think Hurts could have a good game against the Giants.
Yeah, I think mine here would be Brady. I just can't get away from it. I think that being the highest priced QB and not really having anything with his legs, I don't think I maybe he'll be chalk, but I just can't see it. I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out because I think that you're thinking Brady, Gronk, and those guys will be chalk this week, and I don't know if they will. I mean, 7,600 for a guy who doesn't run at all when you have some cheaper options on the slate, and even Hurts, like you said, who can run right underneath him. I'm not sure how steamed up he'll get, but we'll look at it. But he's my favorite QB, and when he's got the highest projected ceiling for me by far of anyone on here, then I just got to roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's paid off a lot this year. I think that keeps people going back. But I don't, even if he's going to be a higher owned, I see 13 to 15% type deal. It's not like he's going to be. Herbert's my number 1 project as far as ownership, $1,000 cheaper. So he's certainly not going to be something that is crazy owned. Just maybe one of the higher ones on the slate. But nothing super high. Quarterbacks aren't really that high in general. They get spread out pretty decently. My favorite running back on the slate, you mentioned it kind of earlier, is Henderson, $5,800. Think he's going a little bit overlooked after the weeks, but like you said, if they have a big game, generally he can do well. Green Bay can be ran on. I like Henderson at that price.
Yeah, I have Henderson as well. So I'll do my other one too because I think we were doing two of them. So
Yep.
I had Henderson and Miles Sanders. The Miles Sanders price is just stupid to me this week, and if Hurts doesn't run in 3 TDs, and maybe Sanders gets 2 of them, so and he's just a great talent. Do watch him play. He's awesome. So if he's going to touch the ball 20 times in that matchup, I love it.
Yeah, very underrated after having to follow Barkley at Penn State, but he's really good. My second's Patterson. I love him. I think he's going to play. I'm building everything or getting stuff ready as if he is. 6,500 against the Jags. I think the Falcons are. I don't think they've given up yet. When you see Matt Ryan, even in some of these last games, I mean, he got annihilated on a play last week and easily could have just said, "I'm out, I'm done," and got back in there, even though they were going to lose and kept fighting. And so, like the Lions we saw yesterday, they continue to find ways to lose, dumb ways and tough losses, but I don't think they're giving up yet. And so I like Patterson a lot this week at that price. Probably a little low owned. I like that game stack. My wide receivers I like Debo. I know you mentioned the price. Can we get there? I think it's just being utilized so much that that's a piece in that game I'll get to. And then Godwin, with or without Evans, I think Godwin is my favorite, second favorite wide receiver on the slate.
Yeah, Godwin was my the obvious one that I'd pair with Brady. But then my other one's a little off the radar. So Godwin, don't need to talk about much. We talked about Brady. Everyone knows. But then the second one. So this is Odell Beckham. So I just think that, the week to work in the offense, learn more. I think he'll get into Woods' role, whereas Jefferson has already been in the offense. So I don't think they're just going to change his role and he'll suck up any of that Woods stuff. This is I think that's what Odell's going to do. Play that Robert Woods role. And for 5,000, if he has one of those good Woods games like he had, they're not going to do probably the running plays that Woods did and stuff like that, but just the throws over the middle, run after the catch type stuff. I think for 5,000, he'll be super low owned, and that's a game I really like and a spot I really like him in.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great. I mean, I was high on him preseason. I thought he'd have a good comeback year. Obviously, there were some issues there, but agree coming off the bye week would be a great spot to play him because if he goes off, he's not going to be that cheap moving forward. And I just don't know how many people are going to play Cup at 9,600. But
yeah, that tape that his dad made too is funny, but I mean it is true. The guy's freaking open all the time. Like he can still run routes like crazy. So like I just think the talent is still there.
Yeah, in no shocking way, my favorite tight end's Pitts. Again, I'm high on this Falcons team this week. Really close with Kittle because I do like Kittle and I think he can do well. I think Gronk has some spots. Goddard can obviously do well with Hurts, but I think Pitts, and again, I'm going off the assumptions Patterson's back, which helps him, gets a little bit of that defense off of him. And I just think he's an elite talent that can go off at any week.
Yeah, I like Pitts too. I have him ranked the highest there, and so that's definitely mine.
Defense, Texans is just going to be the chalk of the slate at home against the Giants, $2,300. They're probably going to be one I play. If you want to get different, I don't mind the Patriots at home as well, $3,900. Not many people are going to go there, but it's not that big of a pay up. And it really comes down to how much Tennessee is healthy because I don't even know who the running back's going to be right now. If Brown's out, I mean, this team, you start making Tannehill press, and we saw how much he can turn it over, and there's no better defensive, mind than Belichick. So not many people going to the Patriots. Texans is an obvious spot, but one of those two would be the ones I look at.
Yeah, I think like a low-owned D that I'd look at would be the Dolphins at home against Carolina. Just they have 2 good corners. Cam can, he has some real suspect throws at times. So, you get one lucky pick six, something like that. He's also one that will take some sacks. He can run, yes, but a lot of running QBs sometimes they get a lot of sacks taken because they'll scramble and can't make it back to the line of scrimmage. So, I like the Dolphins here. 2,800 too is a pretty nice price.
Yeah, that opens up a lot of things. My first stack's pretty obvious. Bucks. I think you can stack them any which way you want. Can be different in that game. We talked about that up top. And then my second favorite stack is actually the 49ers. I think Aloha and Jimmy G talked about all the reasons why just a few minutes ago. But right now, they'd be my second favorite stack on the board. So I go Bucks and 49ers.
Mine are pretty obvious. I like the Rams and the Bucks. So, like I mentioned, Henderson being one of our favorite running backs in the slate, and then I like the OBJ thing. And then Cup, I don't think will be very, highly owned at all for 96. No. I mean, it's tough to get there, but not bad if you can look at some of these games that we were talking about, like the Jets and Texans, things like that, and you save money there. There are lineups you can play them, but I like the OBJ Henderson thing, and then obviously the Bucks that we talked about.
Oh, absolutely. Flyer 1 is easy. I like Javonte Williams. I got him at 1.6% owned, so I'll be playing some of him this week. Flyer 2 is Devontae Smith, 2% owned on my projections. And then Flyer 3, Elijah Moore, 1.2% owned. All three guys, I think that, it's some boom bust, but I think they could all have really big ceiling games as well. So that very low ownership, you can one-off them in any kind of build. So I like those three.
Mine are a little different. I don't know if the ceiling's really there, but I know they'll be low owned. I like T.Y. Hilton at home for 4,000, in a game where if they are going to throw and Wentz is going to have one of his good games, this is where I would like to target T.Y. Hilton. And then so the last two would be both backs in that Texans-Jets game. So I like David Johnson for 4,500 and Ty Johnson for 4,300. I just think they'll get the bulk of the work in the pass game, and each could punch in a TD. So for 45 and 43, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, and if you pay up, for a McCaffrey or a Taylor or Eckler or whatever, getting one of those cheap as your second helps, dollar average those two out, a lot better. So I don't mind that as well. My sleeper stack, like I mentioned, I was going back and forth between the Falcons and Texans. I will go the Falcons with the asterisk of assuming Patterson plays. If he doesn't, I still like pieces of the Falcons, but I would my sleeper stack would move to the Texans if Patterson's out.
Yeah, I agree. That's who I had as Falcons, Jags, ranked the highest as far as my pass advantage plus like the projected pass percentage. So, if they can throw all over each other and just keep the ball moving, that game could shoot out. So yeah, Falcons, Jags, I'm with it.
As I mentioned earlier, Monkey Knife Fight link is in the description. Dollar for dollar match up to $100. You can get on both Monkey Knife Fight and Underdog. Shop some lines around. They have their UFC Knockout Kings tomorrow. You can use Tommy's write up to figure out some fighters you like to win by KO. My more or less play in the NFL, I like Brady over 310.5 and Big Ben under 250.5. My more or less for college football, early slate Saturday, I like Hartman over 339.5 passing yards and Van Dyke over 333.5. You can go get those locked in. Check out the site. Link is in the description. Use the code GUPS, GUPS. You get a free dollar for dollar match up to $100. We got Brooks versus Bryson kicking off here in about 40 minutes or so. You got any side there? I think Brooks is going to pull it off. He seems to you isolate him in this type of deal. It's 12 holes. I don't think he wants to lose to Bryson. If he's on and focused, I still think he's as good of a talent as most people out there. So I like him to win.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. If he's laser focused in on that, and I just think his pride alone will up his game where he does not want to lose this matchup. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch. We're gonna go into a local bar. We're gonna have it on there, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll take. I don't know if it gets the main screen yet. It'll probably start there. We'll see how it's going, and then I'll have the footballs on the other channels. Some big games at 2:30. Like I said, use the code Turkey, 30% off, free 7-day trial included. Cancel anytime in the first 7 days. Never get charged. Great time. Lots of winning screens in there. Tons going on this weekend. Lots of football today. Lots of football tomorrow. I think Bobby will or already has released the main slate college football pod. I'll double check that. If not, his write-up will be up. He's already done today's. Obviously, this is coming out late, but you can hop into some later action if you want to. And then I'll be around. I'll have all the content out as normal now that we're back on schedule. Like I said, no coin flip this week. Kind of did a hybrid for this coming out so late. And I will be back Monday with a Cup with Gup to talk about Monday Night Football, showdown picks, review last week, look ahead at some of the golf stuff, and other things we got going on. Any final thoughts for you before we wrap it up?
No, just make sure you're logging into Slack Sunday morning and check the Cream article Sunday morning too for updates, because we're going to need to track these games. And like I said, I'll try to come up with some sort of cool late swap we can do once we get the running back news and the Packers and Niners.
Yeah, and I've had several current members watch the video I did and found it a lot of things that they didn't really know was in the site, even though you're there. So even if you're a current member, you may want to go check that out. It's less than 20 minutes. I want to hit on every main part of the site and some of the things we're going to be adding as well. So share that along, share that tweet for us, build up the community a little bit more as we head into the spring and a big 2022. Appreciate you guys. Have a blessed weekend. And premium members, we'll see you Sunday. Talk some late injury news. And then I'll be back Monday with Cup with Gup. Have a good weekend, y'all.